Hello, it's Paul Clegg here, and today I've got the pleasure of talking with Kelly Logan from Smee Marketing, and I'm going to just introduce you straight away to Kelly. Hello, Kelly.
Hi, Paul. Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me on.
Right, and I believe it's your first interview, so before we go into the meat of it, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Obviously, I'm a marketeer and have been for a long time, but my other real passion in life is eventing. So I have a horse. I used to event, and I'm looking to event again now on a new youngster that I've brought on. So that's what I do in my spare time. There's not much spare time with horses.
No, I believe not. I know a few people with horses. What's a youngster mean? How old's a youngster?
Um, he's actually he's 8 now, but he didn't start his training until he was 6, so he's effectively like 2 years behind where he should be. But he's a very smart pony. He's a very fast learner, and I'm really enjoying the journey with him back up to BE. So BE being British Eventing. He's a cracking little pony, and I love him to pieces. He's a lot of character.
Smee Marketing, if in looking at the website, it stands for small. What does it stand for?
So obviously, SME normally stands for small, medium, and enterprises, but we've been a little bit creative with it, and we actually mean it as small, micro, and entrepreneur companies. So the idea of SME marketeers was came about because there's three of us. We all have complementary skills, and we were all very passionate about digital marketing and also about helping small companies and using our knowledge to help them. And so while we were sitting there developing our ideas, we sort of had this idea, sort of a bit fun, but of three marketeers, a bit like three musketeers. And so SME Marketeers came about, and this the all for one motto really kind of comes home to what we want to do, which is really help small businesses. So we really are behind you as a small business. And so it all came together quite nicely for the SME Marketeers.
I also come from a marketing background. My marketing was formed in a large corporate organization. I was head of a team of 14 marketing people at one stage. The challenges of a small business are very much different than the challenges of a large business with a big marketing budget. Do you find
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been quite lucky that in my marketing career over 20 years, I've worked in both global corporates and I've worked in small companies. And I've worked agency side and client side. So I've had an experience of working very much with the different needs of a small business to those of a corporate. And whilst there are some fundamental things that are always the same, your marketing objectives must support your business goals. It's always about how relevant you are to the customer and making sure your message is relevant. You're absolutely right. There's very much different issues faced by a small company to someone with deep pockets and lots of money to spend on their brand awareness.
I've always found that when I talk to people in business, the vast majority of them have got into business for their reasons. Either they have left a corporate company, they've left a business, they've wanted to start and create something of their own, they're following their passion, etc. And that is where their expertise lies. The challenge then becomes, how do I go and find customers? Um, how would you advise somebody right now that's starting a business?
Being a startup, obviously, you're very much going to hit the brand awareness phase, so getting people to know who you are. Um, Budgets and finances are usually quite limited, so I will take one of two approaches. So if you're selling perhaps a product and you're looking to sell nationally, so it doesn't really matter to you whether the customer is local or up in Scotland, you can do what I call piggybacking off of the big brands and their market and their reputation. So people like Amazon, Etsy, eBay, all those places that have built a reputation, you can sort of piggyback off of their spend and their marketing to get your brand out there. And then what I would do to complement that would sort of sweep up with a bit of Google paid search just on your brand name. So if someone does see your product on one of these big engines and they want to come back directly, they can find you. Because unfortunately, when you first start and you're likely to have a new domain and a new business, you end up in what they call the Google sandpit. So for the first 3 months, Google will basically watch traffic to your site. So it won't put you in its search results until it proves to itself that you are a trustworthy source and that people are enjoying your site. And so there'll be about 3 months where it monitors you before you start to appear. So getting presence on somebody else's marketing spend helps Google to get the traffic to your site, to learn that you are actually trustworthy and get that ranking quicker. But if you're local, so say you're a plumber or a driving instructor and you want to really just target a local community, then you've got a different strategy you can employ, which is a much more local focus. And this would be things like having a Google My Business profile, so it's free. And you go on with a Gmail account and you put in all the key information about your company. So now when someone types in your business name, you'll see, if you've ever noticed on the search results, sometimes a business comes up in the top right-hand panel, and that's called a knowledge panel, and that has all your basic information. So that's a good way to start getting yourself present on Google. You get reviews on there. It also scrapes reviews on social. So again, if you're looking very much at the local community, get involved with the local community, the clubs, the social, the sports, the fates, and sort of sponsor and get brand awareness in sort of a cost-effective way, free way. You're giving up your time. But each of these sports clubs, fates, will have a small website themselves. And if they can link to your website, you're doing one of two things. You're getting customers to come to you because they're already there, but also you're giving Google a tip-off that actually you're active in the local business. So now when someone starts to search for your business, Google is putting all this information together and you're starting to rise in its maps, in its local search. So it's just about being creative, especially when budgets are sort of small at the first phase of startup.
You made a very good point there, Kelly, because as an observer of the way people start up businesses that don't understand marketing, the first thing they think they need is a website. And of course, very often, I think you mentioned it earlier, they don't have a great deal of budget, and yet marketing isn't a website. A website isn't marketing. It's an element within the whole marketing mix. You've talked about Google, you've talked about social media, I've just talked about website, etc. There's lots of ways to market your business. So would you say that the first thing that somebody should do is to talk to somebody that understands marketing, somebody like yourself, before they even start looking at a website?
I think so, because I think often the way things come about is they start chatting with friends and family and they say, or perhaps they're at a trade show and people say, if you've got a website, I want to find out a bit more about you. And this awareness of needing a website comes about, but they don't have a lot of information about how to do a website. So they start Googling, and you see, GoDaddy and lots of big brands that can actually help you get live quickly. But actually, if you haven't done the background preparation, and this is so often you get the case, people come and they start a website, it doesn't do what they want it to, it's too difficult to use, and they find that they stop using it, they can't be bothered to build it because it's just taking up too much of their time and they can't really see a return. Or they build a site and they've dogmatically followed a template, and now no one's really coming and no one's buying, and they don't understand why. And so I think you really need to take a step back and be really clear about what you want from your website. So have a really clear objective about what you want for the customer to do when they get there. And make sure that your copy and your navigation and the page design is really about prioritizing the message you want and the action you want them to take. And also, so if your site is booking into a facility or buying a product or getting someone to call you about your service, keep in mind that's the end-to-end journey. And then think about what you need as a customer lands on your site. What information do they need to support that decision to move forward and find out more about you at each stage until they eventually become a purchaser? So I've actually done a preparation sheet that will help people to write all that information that they need down and put it clear in their head before they approach doing a website. Because you can, with the content management systems available, you can do it yourself, but you do need to have the preparation behind. So you do need to do a little bit of information and a little bit of digging and prep before you start. Yeah, on our website we have what we call the Getting Started Guides section, and there's information there, videos and downloads, so that you can actually do this yourself. Because again, part of our motto being all for one, we really want to help people do this for themselves. And people who've started their business are so passionate about what they do, and you really want for those people to be able to get out into the world and show everybody how passionate they are. And it's just making an equal playing field. We want to really help them.
I sometimes am very provocative with a new business or any business, and I'll say, do you really need a website? And I only say that just to get them thinking about what they want the website for. And what people don't realize is that they might get a website up, but then the challenge is getting people to look at that website. And okay, you can show your friends you've got a website, but they're not probably buying from you anyway. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons they ought to be talking to somebody like yourself to begin with, to decide, what do I want a website to do? What do I need it to do? And how can I make it stand out? And how can I get attention?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's true of all channels. There's something I often see again with small businesses, that they've gone to a conference and they've been told that the new thing is this, it's podcast, it's ConvertKit, and they cram it onto their site because they've been told this is what's going to make it sell. And yet the customer lands and is really confused about what this is. This is nothing to do. I don't even know what you're offering me, and this thing's leaping out at me, and it's not even part of what I have landed on your site to achieve. And again, we have conversations with people, and they say, "Oh, TikTok's the latest thing. I should use TikTok." Okay, but your target audience is 45 to 70 who don't care about TikTok, and they don't even know. They still think that's the sound of a clock. It means nothing to them. Why are you on TikTok? It's about really understanding who your customers are and where they are, and being present where they are, rather than trying to force them into a channel that they're just not going to use.
I'm only laughing there because I'm thinking of the older person, even older than me, that there's TikTok, they think that's the sound of their pacemakers.
Yeah, exactly. It's really about using the channels that your target market is looking at, is consuming. So
I think the business owners got to realize that they've got two resources that are usually very precious. The first one is money. They have a limited amount to spend on marketing and getting out there, and the other one is time. And I think that can be the challenge.
And I think, again, that's why, part of the prep sheet that I've put together is about identifying your target and creating almost, it's kind of a marketing thing, but creating personas. So, but actually just by identifying who your customers are and having in mind who they are and how they might be looking for you. So for example, you might have, I use on my website example of Tim, who's 45, he's an investment banker, and in his spare time he likes to run. He's going to be looking at certain media. He's probably not influenced by social media, but he'll be looking at perhaps he reads the Times, the Telegraph. You need to try and understand where that person is going to find their information. He's probably not going to go to TikTok, but the 19-year-old student who is in a fashion degree might actually find that she's very into sort of mobile videos. They're consuming YouTube, TikTok, but they'll be influenced by social media, and they probably want a whole experience. They don't just want to land on a site, buy and go. They actually want the whole experience. And so if you can understand who your customer is, you can tailor what you offer and how you offer it and which channels you use to the best advantage.
Anybody who's watching this will probably be shouting at the screen saying, well, hang on, I've only got so much money. And that is a fact. So therefore, I would say that people need to invest their money where it's going to count. And unless they see marketing as an investment, they'll end up seeing it as a cost. And if you see it as a cost, you want to reduce it as fast as you can. And I think those people that don't fully understand, it's things like now they'll turn their marketing off instead of turning their marketing up. And an investment, in my view, is something where you spend money and you're able to measure what return you get, a return on investment. And too many people spend money without even thinking about, is it working? What return am I getting? They don't measure.
Yeah, and again, absolutely, that it's key to have a measurement and a forecast. So the first things we do is when we're looking to help startups is we look at obviously, again, we say budget's limited, so we look at the channels that will work for them and we forecast how that will pan out. And we also provide which we provide as a spreadsheet that you can use, and also we have a monitoring spreadsheet so that each week you can see how you are performing against those channels. And the beauty of digital marketing over the old traditional media that we used to have is that, perhaps in the day we used to put your £600 into advertising Yellow Pages and that would be you for a year. And if you didn't get anything, you didn't get anything. Whereas now, at least with digital, if that's your budget, you can put it into different media and start to see which is performing and move the money appropriately. The only thing to be mindful of there is that if your volumes are small and you're expecting an instant return, you might take your money out of something which actually turns out to be giving you a lot of brand awareness and you've killed it off too quick. So you do need to be mindful of the figures and let them roll for a little time to actually give you some insight to what's going on.
And you don't need to spend a lot of money, I believe, to test out as to whether this investment in this media or this campaign is working better than that. You don't need a great deal of money, as I understand it.
No, you don't. And as I said previously with the local, if you are a local business and you're looking to do things, you can be very cost effective and you can be very creative about how you reach a market without incurring too much cost. So, as we said, sort of getting involved in local communities, having the social, there are ways to get brand awareness out there in getting that business in before you actually have to start spending finances.
The one killer of most businesses is cash flow, and that means that you're not getting enough paid for revenue in, but before you're spending so much money out, and there's the time factor in there. So you can decide to do it without an investment and it'll take you longer, but will you still be around in the long term? I think they're all the challenges that a business owner has to put up with. There's so many plates in the air that I maintain that you're just not going to be able to do it on your own. You need to have somebody to talk to. And I would suggest, first of all, a good accountant that will help you control your costs. But your accountant will be looking at controlling cost. Very few of them are marketing orientated. So the second person you need to have in your team is somebody like yourself that understands the challenges and is looking to help people get customers, get people in front of that person, getting the right people in front of that person's products.
Absolutely. And when we work with people, we always say we're working backwards. So instead of, we had a question the other day and someone said, well, how much should I be spending? What sort of money should I spend each month? Am I not spending enough, or should I spend more? What investment am I looking for? And we said, well, work it backwards. What's the end goal you're trying to achieve? Don't just throw thousands at it and go, it didn't work, or hundreds at it didn't work. What are you trying to achieve? Work backwards through the conversion rates and how much the audience is you've got to reach, and then work your spend appropriately, and then look to the spend. Does the spend tally? If the spend is outperforming the money coming in, don't run that campaign.
That's why you need numbers people and creative people together.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what I do love about marketing, because it does marry those two skills. You often, as you said earlier, have people in marketing who like problem solving. I love data, figures. I'm quite mathematical, but I'm also quite creative. So what I love is you can look at the patterns and the numbers that are coming through, and then you try and find a creative answer to getting a campaign or a website or whatever the channel is you're looking to do, a creative response to the problem you've got. So I love that it matches the data side, the number crunching side, with the creative side. Although I can't draw I can only draw a stick man. I'm not creative artistically.
All business, there's a cost. There's a cost to getting in business. There's either a cost financially or there's a cost time. And the time it takes to get paying customers enough to be able to sustain your expenses is the biggest challenge. You can either do it the hard way or you can do it a more effective way. And anything that gets you those customers faster has got to be worthwhile, providing you know the value of the customer and the cost of acquiring that customer. So if somebody's something like Facebook and YouTube, for instance, advertising is underrated. I hear that Facebook costs have dropped by about 40% during this lockdown.
we've actually seen Facebook work again for places that you wouldn't really consider, even in a business to business audience, which I would never have thought Facebook worked, but it gave them the brand awareness. It gave those initial first steps for people who were searching. And it always contributes. If you look, the beauty of things like Google Analytics is that you can see which channels people are coming from to land on your site, and it tells you often people will use 3 or 4 channels, so they maybe see it through Facebook, they'll come back through a Google search or an advert or a recommendation or a link from another social channel, and it shows you all of those channels that are involved in reaching a sale. So it really does help you as you're learning to really target down onto which channels are working for you and make sure that the spend that you've got is going into the right places.
Yeah.
Google's doing an algorithm update next year, which will be all about usability, and its ranking will be about stickability and how people land and stay and engage with your site. So if they're landing, it's confusing and they're disappearing, then you're going to start to drop. So for me, those are the key areas to be thinking of, and doing what you can to tick the boxes for Google. But if you focus on the customer first and you tick the boxes for them and you give them a good user experience and they're out there telling people, you are by association ticking the boxes for Google. So you should see the two naturally rise hand in hand.
Google wants to match the person looking for a product or a service with that product and service. That's the best user experience for Google, because we'll continue to use Google.
Absolutely.
So if people understand that, and they understand how Google finds people through keywords, for instance, they'll know that just writing something or just putting something up on social media isn't necessarily marketing. It's fun, and there's a lot of people with lots of followers, etc., but not doing any business. You've got to marry the two, haven't you, really? You've got to have a call to action. You've got to take people, as you say, on that journey. I'm looking at my iPhone now, because that's what my camera, and that one small iPhone is the best marketing machine I know. It's got the ability to do everything and anything that anybody in marketing would want to do, all in the palm of your hand. You've just got to know what buttons to press.
Absolutely, and say everything is delivered directly to your phone, so you can use any channel, and there you have literally a mobile device that people are taking with them everywhere. So you can reach people at any time of the day that they want to be able to consume your product. They can just switch on and take it. It's fantastic that we have the technology these days that can enable that. If we'd had this 20 years ago, it might have been a completely different scenario, but we have so much available to us now. And it's just about being creative and going with it. And I think that's what small businesses have in abundance. The fact that they've set up on their own just shows that entrepreneurial spirit that they have. And I love working with small businesses, because the creativity that comes out of some people, you just think, blows you away. They're just really, really dedicated to what they do.
I've been talking to quite a few people that are realizing that they need to have more of a digital presence, or they need to refresh their digital presence. They need to refresh their website. How would you approach somebody that wants to refresh their website?
So if they're refreshing their website, I would take that they'd have some analytics on it already. So you could see what hopefully they will see. You can see what's working and what people have engaged with. From a Google point of view, if you've had a website up for 10 years, they've found you and they've ranked all your pages. So the last thing you want to do is take it down, scratch it off and start again, because you're starting that sandpit again. And actually you've got ranking, and you will have interest. There'll be pages that you rank, and there are pages that people engage with. So you want to use that as a basis. And again, thinking about what your objective is, what the customer wants to achieve. You would just retweak the design. And it might just be, I had one client who had sort of I don't mean to use the word thrown up a site, and she had lots of different things going on. She offered sports coaching in lots of different ways, and it was just about crystallizing the navigation into more clear boxes. So just be more concise about the things that you are offering, make the navigation smoother, and in terms of just really clearly prioritizing the different aspects she was offering. And actually we still used a lot of the content, but we cut things where it was repetitive, or where, and I do see this often with small businesses, is they start to tell you a story about a benefit. Oh, you can use my system and it does this. And they get the customer going, oh, that's great, that's great. And then halfway through the conversation, they suddenly go, yeah, it also does this. And they go off in a different tangent, and you've lost the customer and it's gone. And they never really completed the loop of getting that complete buy-in from the customer. So they started to create what we call the desire for the product. But before they got into the reasoning and the, yeah, let me take action, they've gone off on a different tangent and they've lost the sale completely. And you see that a lot, websites, flyers, Facebook posts, videos. It's really common because it's almost not understanding the concept of closing that sale down. And again, that's back to my point of having a really clear goal. Every communication you have, whether it's website, Facebook, Twitter, a flyer, a poster in the village hall, have a really clear objective to what you're trying to get from the customer to do from that piece of communication.
Kelly, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, and I hope everybody that's got this far in the interview has found something that has been of value to them. And certainly if they're looking to refresh their appearance on digitally, or they're looking to get something started to attract more customers, they should give you a call. Thank you very much indeed, Kelly.
Thank you, Paul. I've really enjoyed talking with you too. Thank you.
Your first.
My first video, yeah.
Yeah, maybe more. I'll put your website address on the page so that people can access all this material for all this free resource.
Yeah, and we'll say we're creating more each time. So if there's something that you want, particularly if someone's coming to the site and they need something particular, just ping us and we'll try and create a video for that too.
That's great. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Paul. Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you.